So everybody, this is Millicent Knight, who, and believe it or not, Millie, I believe you participated in the very first CE Wire about 1,000,000 years ago. So it's so great to have you back on here again.
Yeah, full circle. And we both have little sons who came busting into the room right in the midst of the conversation. But
Yep. Fortunately, now that they're not so little anymore, I guess we're a little obsolete now. I know that my son is much more interested in playing Fortnite or whatever than actually barging in here. So it makes it a little easier.
yeah, that's what now too.
So Millie, I wanted to actually play a video for folks. Just to, one thing that we wanted to talk to you about today is sort of everything that's happened in the past year, because I think for everybody, 2020 has been a rather long year. But I have a little video here. I'm going to cue it up. You may not be able to hear it over the phone, but I'll play it for everyone. It's about 1 minute long. And then maybe we can just sort of talk about it and just talk about where you've been and what you're doing. So let me tee this thing up. So here we go. Everybody ready? And go.
As an independent eye care provider, you have a lot of needs to fulfill. You need to grow your practice, you need a steady stream of patients, and you need to provide exceptional care to keep those patients coming back. But before all those things, you need an advocate. At Essilor, we realize there's more to vision care than just vision care, which is why we invest in you by supplying you with tools and resources that not only give your patients their best vision, but also help drive your business forward. Need visibility? With primetime TV and digital ads for Essilor experts, you'll have more than ever before. What about premium products? As our partner, you'll have access to industry-leading lens technology like Verilux Advanced Progressive Lenses, as well as partner programs like Essilor Experts, so your patients can enjoy the most loved and trusted eyewear brands in the world. How about support? Glad you asked. We have programs that provide access to specialized training and business management tools for dispensing our partner brands. We even offer extra benefits like a loyalty program, giving you financial freedom and the opportunity to earn bonus points, delivering even more value for your practice. Being a partner of Essilor goes beyond best-in-class products. It's a joint effort to position you and your practice for long-lasting competitive success. So whether you need industry-leading lens technology, first-class support, or groundbreaking resources, you always get more with Essilor. Learn more at essilorpro.com.
Okay, so I think everybody got a sense of what that was about, and just talking sort of about how Essilor has kind of been here for everybody as this year has unfolded, for better or worse. So Millie, you have kind of the unique perspective, right? Because in your position, you get to see things from industry side, and you've gotten to have a front row seat on everything that's happened. So maybe you could just catch us up a little bit on what's been going on in your world.
Okay, great. Well, first of all, thanks for playing that video. I think it really sets the stage for where we as a company want to be, and that is to have our doctors get more from our relationship and our partnership in 2021. But before I go into this interesting year and journey that we've all been on, I wanted to take a second to thank you and Paul for all that you do for the industry in making sure that we get top-notch education, you stay on top of everything that's going on, and you really take an earnest effort to communicate that out to the masses. So I just wanted to thank you, especially during this season of gratitude that we're in.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, that's so nice of you. Thank you.
So, I took some notes. I started taking some notes, and then I was like, you know what, this is just going to be a conversation. And I think it's a rich and important conversation in that when we first sort of got challenged with some of the COVID shutdowns and just this whole fury of not knowing what's coming next and what we should do next. Are we considered essential providers? Are we not? The first thing was to roll up our sleeves and work, which we did as a company, with the AOA and other organizations to make sure that optometry was recognized as an essential provider and profession. And by virtue of that, we of course had to fulfill, so we were an essential business. I worked with our global teams and our research teams to try and access information from CDC and other organizations to help doctors prepare to, number one, boost the confidence of their patients, have information to communicate with their patients before they started to come back into the office, because that was really critical to shore up that confidence from the patients, and shore up the confidence their staff, as a staff morale, staff were afraid, to be honest. And so it's really critical to make sure everyone was ready to go, the practices are ready to go. And we spent some time doing ECP programs to help people prepare their practices so they have the right protocols in place. And again, this is very early on in the journey when people were first starting to come back into their practices. And then we also wanted to make sure that we trained our sales team so that they were ready for the new relationship they were going to have with their doctor partners. And they would also be the least disruptive coming into the office because they for the businesses, and including all the way down to the PPE. And they would all be bringing their own, so they wouldn't take away from the precious source of PPE that the doctors needed for their patients and for their staff.
Right.
So that was probably really early on. That was one of the things that we really had to go up first.
Yeah, so I was just wondering, you mentioned disruption and people coming in. So in the beginning, at least, I know that all the offices were shut down, but now that they're back, are you actually having people, go out into the field, or is a lot of stuff that you're doing virtual?
Yeah, we do a little bit of both. I think that is to meet people where they are. And that goes for both our company as it relates to the doctors and the practices and the staff. One of the things that we did was we provided during some of the downtime that some of the doctors and staff had, is we made sure that we had free CE available so that they could sort of fill in some gaps in some areas where time does not always permit when the practices are in full swing. So really we had, an 800% increase in the amount of coursework that was taken. We always have a pretty robust program throughout the year, but it just grew exponentially.
Yep.
But we wanted to also, at the same token, make sure that if the doctors weren't comfortable meeting with the staff or our sales team coming into the office, that we found different and unique ways, and really whatever way they wanted to meet. And I think that the important point there too is that also cascaded to the patient and the consumer. Because the one thing that we know now is that we have to be prepared to meet the patient where they are. And some were ready to come back into the office, and some wanted to use online telehealth, telemedicine type technology to be able to at least do a portion of their exam or to meet their more urgent or emergent needs, which I'm really proud of our profession, by the way, because we kept a lot of those patients who would have gone into the emergency room from going into the emergency room when we really needed that space in the hospital for those patients who had more issues with COVID and COVID-related conditions. So we now know that patients are not going to turn around and go back, even once we have this coronavirus managed, if you will. And so we've had to modernize our practices, and we'll have to modernize the approach. And we have some tools and technology available through Essilor to help doctors be able to do that. We have a technology, we know that patients want to schedule appointments or want to sometimes seek information about the practice or about a particular condition before they reach out to your practice. So we have all of that information and those tools available so that at 11 o'clock at night or midnight, when the patient suddenly realizes, oh my God, I need to make this appointment and I've been putting it off and I want to get it done, they can do that at night. And when you come into the office in the morning, you've got a full schedule. So that's kind of what I think doctors want to look forward to in the new year. And that's what patients are increasingly expecting.
Right, because I don't think many people realize, or if they hadn't been paying attention, that you guys, you're more than just the product, right? You actually have a whole bunch of software tools now that people can use. They can sign up for and actually implement in their practice if they want to.
Absolutely, we have those. We have everything to help, again, as I said, modernize practices and allow doctors to be able to meet their patients wherever they are. We also have some of the best products in the market. And for instance, I'm just going to pick on one in particular. If I think about Crizal, I was on a platform recently where we were talking about the front and back surface and the UV and AR protection associated with that product, and just how important that is, particularly if you're in a co-management type relationships, and most of us are, where not just with your cataract surgeons or your LASIK surgeons, but even your oculoplastic surgeons who are doing surgeries on the probably 8 to 10% of cancers that occur around the eye, lid, and the nexa areas. And those doctors are not as familiar with the fact that, if you don't have back surface AR protection, that you're actually getting some of those light rays bouncing back into that sensitive tissue around the eyes and also inside of the eye. So they don't know about that, and it's an opportunity to educate them as part of that co-management relationship that you have with those ophthalmologists.
Have you found a difference in the products that people are ordering because of the COVID virus, like more blue blocking technology, better computer glasses, more progressive lenses because of the stay-at-home? Is there a shift that you're seeing in Essilor's product line?
Yes, we do. We are definitely finding more of a shift in that. We're finding more people looking, seeking out the Crizal Provincia, and then just asking a whole lot more information. There's, I've been working also, I'll pivot in a second, to some work with the Global Myopia Awareness Coalition, and we've set up a multitude, that's 15 companies in the industry, taking big to do well and to educate the community on progressive myopia, because so many parents are concerned now that their children are e-schooling. We're personally on digital devices all day, between our computers at work, and then in between, when you take a break and you get your cell phone out, and it's just nonstop bombardment to our visual system and to ergonomically to our system. So just having those conversations about how important it is in between your digital devices, your gaming activities, getting out, getting that UV that you do need, that for the vitamin D conversion, and then shutting the devices down at a respectable time period in the evening so that you can get the natural hormone melatonin to kick in and do what it's supposed to do, so that you get a nice relaxing sleep and wake up ready to go the next day. And that's really critical with children. So we've had a lot of inquiries in that area, and we've been able to partner a lot in that space. And I'm really looking forward to when we have a spectacle solution to the myopia epidemic, which will be coming sometime soon, I hope.
Cool. And Millie, one thing that's really funny, we had Craig Thomas on the phone yesterday, and obviously he's always overflowing with information that he loves to give out. But what he was telling us was that in his practice, from what he has seen, people, even though his patient volume is down, the patients who he has, they're actually spending more a lot of the time because they have this disposable income, right? Because everyone's kind of trapped. And all they're doing is sitting in front of screens at home. They can't go anywhere or do anything else. So they're treating themselves, right? This is the time when they're trying to upgrade their eyewear. So I thought that was a kind of a fascinating discussion.
And it's actually what we're hearing a lot of too. We have a Essilor think tank, and we had a whole session around headwinds. But the funny thing is, we heard that over and over again. Less patients because we're being more methodical about how we bring the patients in for their eye examinations. But because of that, you're able to really be able to address their needs. I use a term called bioindividuality, and it's basically looking at that individual and making sure that you're putting together a treatment plan that's specific to that individual based on their needs. And so when you are able to spend that time talking about the challenges they have, how much time they're spending on their digital devices, this is what I recommend for you. This is why I recommend for you. And optometrists don't like to sell, but when you educate the patient, you don't have to sell because you're giving them what they came in for. That's why they came in to you in the first place, because of your expertise in that area. But we have noticed that the average sale price is up. The amount that the patient is spending per transaction is up, and that the capture rate has increased tremendously.
Yep. Because if you're motivated enough to actually get out to any kind of healthcare provider's office, right? Clearly, you're motivated. Most people you don't want to go, but if you're there, you've made the commitment. So I could see why people are spending more.
I was very interested in your little comment about the myopia control glasses, because that's a field of interest of mine. I know it's not approved or even close to the U.S., but what's happening overseas in terms of that lens or lens products?
Yeah, we have a product called Cellus, and it's out, and we have it. It's launched in China, and we're working through, what we have to work through in order to get it approved to be launched in this country. And so we have all hands on deck, and we're working to bring a good and right solution. And in the meantime, we're just staying engaged and supporting the efforts of the doctors who are working really hard to address those patients' needs with the tools and services that are available today.
Mm-hmm. But the science is similar to what orthokeratology and the contact lenses that are for myopia control do in terms of what the optics are. It's a similar approach.
Well, a similar approach, I would say, but the actual technology and the science is a bit different. And unfortunately, I can't go into any more detail on that. But it's really exciting, and I think that when we are able to bring it to the market, it will be a big game changer.
Yep, and up on the screen right now, Steve, if you want to peruse, I have their press release, which is probably about as much as Millie can say.
Yeah, but she tells us she has to kill us, and you can't tape this either, so it's not a viable option.
Have these intimate conversations with Adam anymore if you do that.
Speaking of press release, I've got to compliment you, Millie, and the company on the slickest, wonderfully prepared advertising to both the profession, but more important to the public. It is really beautifully done. I think of any of the companies, you seem to be best at this, and this is your bailiwick right now. You're part of the relationship and the link optometrists have to Essilor. Is that correct? Is that pretty much your job?
That is my role. I serve on the senior management team, and I am actually the voice of the optometrist on that senior management team. I report directly to the president. So it's my personal commitment to make sure that I look out for the best interests of my colleagues, our colleagues out there, and making sure that, I know that our company is always looking to do the best in terms of services and the products and technology. Equipment company that people often forget about, but we work in tandem across these companies as best we can to make sure that we're bringing good and right services to patients and through the doctors. And that is actually the commitment, when I left practice, which was a very, very difficult decision because I love clinical care. But when I left practice, one of the things that one of my patients said was that, you've always been an advocate for us as patients being able to get great products and services, and I know that you'll continue to do that on a bigger level in your role in industry. And so that is a commitment I made to my own personal patients after 20 years of practice in my practice, and that's a commitment that I make today.
So basically, when you are you're doing this, I spend all my time on ODwire, and every day there are complaints. So when there's complaints about Essilor, what's the best way to reach you so you can address these complaints to the optometrists?
If it is something that it can be addressed, that's a legitimate concern, I'm going to say, because I think that often if we're complaining about something, it's because we care, and we want to make sure that we have the right information as it relates to how we best take care of our patients. And so I'm always available, Paul, to you or to Adam. Adam has my cell phone, personal cell phone, my work cell phone, so you can reach out to me. And if it's something that I am able to address or discuss, I'm happy to do that. If I can't do it publicly, I'm happy to get the information to you.
That's great. And what's you have the FAO title, I see on your name. What's that second one? What's that last F that you have? What does it stand for?
FFARN.
So fellow in the American Academy of Anti-Aging Regenerative Medicine. Cool. And one of the things I believe is that you have to differentiate yourself in this field, and that you have to continually reinvent yourself. And when you listen to your patients, my patients were always asking for what they could do themselves, taking some personal responsibility for their own eye and health care, and understanding the connection between the eye and the body. And knowing that what I used to say as my tagline was, the optometrist in practice of the future will look at the whole body while they're focused on the eyes. And so we've gotten so fragmented in the whole healthcare system where we're so compartmentalized with each part of the body. Well, I like to look at the body as a whole, and the eyes are a window into the rest of the body. And that was the approach I took in practice. So part of making sure I could address the needs of my patients was to go back and do that fellowship, most of whom were internal medicine physicians in that particular fellowship. But there are about 5 or 6 optometrists that I'm aware of who also have that credential.
Hence your interest in epigenetics.
Yes, exactly.
Very cool. Well, Millie, thank you so much for coming here. And I actually I put up your little the fellowship in anti-aging and regenerative medicine page just on the screen so people can see what it is. So that's pretty neat stuff. So CEwire is going to continue on into next year. Hope to have you back, in the new year to sort of talk about how things are going. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that the next time we do a CEwire, things are going to be substantially back to normal. Maybe I should knock on some wood or something, because and I'm just glad that you've been there along the way, and that things are sort of normalizing for you guys at least, and you found ways to interact with the doctors even in this really most challenging time that I think any of us have ever had.
Well, Adam, thank you for the opportunity to, number one, say thank you to all of the doctors out there who've been supporters, and those who have provided even feedback that's allowed us to get even better in the new year. So we're looking forward to it. We know that there's some headwinds there, but we know that we're up to the challenge, and we know that each and every one of you are up to the challenge as well.
Awesome. All right. Well, have a great day.